Welcome to Fake Presidents, a real podcast about, well, you know.
Each episode will take a deep dive into a fictional American president from pop culture to see just how much fiction there really is.
We're two former political junkies who really do like talking about politics. We just don't like talking about actual real-life politics.
Because it's just too damn depressing.
I'm Eric Buckman, a former political consultant turned TV writer.
And I'm Ben Oren, a former journalist, sometimes speechwriter, and all-the-time TV producer.
And in this episode...
Wait. Before this episode, before we do voices, we're not going to call out the fact that we brought back an oldie but goodie show open?
Well, considering we have had a recent influx of listeners who are starting at the first episode, they might not have even noticed yet that we dropped saying certain things in our intro.
That's true. Thank you to everybody, all our new people.
Yes, all our new people. For whatever the reason that you're Googling the words fake president right now, we appreciate you landing on us. But yeah, for this episode, we are going to go back to the year 2012, back when every male podcaster was really working their own Bane voice. Oh, Batman.
Bane. Oh, I'm Bane. Batman. Oh.
I was born in the darkness. You merely vacationed there. Right? That's his line, right?
Yes. And I have big muscles, and I break backs, and bats, and I'm Bane. Oh.
Yes, 2012. The movie we're doing is The Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark Knight. Is that a good? I'm the guy who comes out at night and flies.
That's disgusting.
I fly. I don't, but we don't do movie reviews here. This was a huge, all this trilogy was huge. That being said, woof. I think there are 3 stinkers. All 3 of them are stinkers.
What?
They're painful for me to watch. Yeah, I don't.
You're going to go on the record of saying that for all 3 of the Nolan Batman movies?
All 3 of them are stinkers.
Wow.
Like maybe a couple of good set pieces in totality. In totality, a couple of good set pieces. Like Nolan is not even good at the fight scenes are not even good.
Well, okay, so if I had to rank them, I would definitely go Dark Knight, Batman Begins, and then The Dark Knight Rises. But even so, I'd still say as a trilogy, it's a pretty strong trilogy. Like the third Batman Nolan movie, it's no third Raimi Spider-Man movie in terms of the drop down in quality. Although I still like Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 more than I like Batman Begins more than The Dark Knight.
Yes,
but,
I like, yeah, Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 1 are better than all 3 of these movies. And if Heath Ledger didn't die, I think that was the best thing for the legacy of this movie.
I genuinely love The Dark Knight. My take on Batman Begins is that it felt like 2 movies. You had this, you had the Bruce Wayne story and the Batman story, and every time he put a costume on, it felt like a slightly different movie or a very different movie. And then Dark Knight, he got the tones together, and it felt like one cohesive Batman movie. And then with this one, it just felt like he just had too much story to tell, and it went on for too long, and too many scenes that shouldn't really be
too much.
Drag.
He wanted to tell too much story as opposed to having too much story to tell. Those are 2 different things. Since
I haven't had a chance to talk about this movie in the last 10 years, I haven't seen this movie since 2012 because I did leave the theater a little disappointed. That said, my wife loved it. As soon as we got the, being in the WJ, as soon as I got the first screener of it on DVD, this is back before movies went to streaming and HBO, and eventually, we got that screener with a watermark where you got to watch the whole movie, behind your name. She did that, twice. She really loved this movie, or at least really wanted to dig into the nitty-gritty of it.
She loves, but she has a crush on Michael Caine.
Maybe. Yeah, she's a Caine head. Yeah. But no, I guess when I walked out of the theater initially, the most disappointing thing to me is just the fact that it felt like a de-escalation in terms of villainy from the second movie, and that both the Joker and Bane are agents of chaos agents. The Joker is chaos for the sake of chaos, whereas Bane, chaos is the first step towards some sort of new order. So there's a greater plan at play. And to me, chaos as part of a plan is a step back from just chaos for chaos. That's the more dangerous of the 2. And so I think that's that, and the length of this movie, it left me a little not as thrilled as I was at the end of The Dark Knight. But that said, I think Christian Bale, he fucking nails the part.
He's definitely like the second or third best Batman, yeah.
Well, I mean, look, there have been a lot of really good Batmans. I mean, you've got Adam West as number one.
There's been very good Batsman.
Yes, Adam West. I'm going chronologically. That's how I rank them. So you have Adam West, and then you have Michael Keaton, and then you have Val Kilmer.
Yes.
And then George Clooney.
Jorge Clooney, yeah.
And then Christian Bale.
Yes.
And then
Ben
Affleck. And then back to George Clooney. Have you seen The Flash? Oh, did I spoil anything?
Oh, I did see that, yes.
Yeah.
But we got a Robert Pattinson in there first.
Oh, you're right. Pattinson and then back to Clooney.
Yes.
So that's my ranking.
Which was the one who had the nipples?
That was Clooney. In the first Clooney.
Number one.
And of course, my Robin will always be Chris. What's his name?
Chris
O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell. Look, Marlon Wayans was like up for that role. Marlon Wayans would have been a great Robin.
Originally, if Tim Burton had kept doing it, he wanted to cast Marlon Wayans allegedly as a Robin. This is a younger Marlon Wayans. Don't picture like.
Oh no, it wouldn't have been. He wouldn't have gone into the future to get the current Marlon Wayans.
Yeah.
And then take him back in time.
Yeah.
To put him in another Batman movie with Michael Keaton.
It's a pre-Mo Money Marlon Wayans.
Mo Money Marlon Wayans is like top Marlon Wayans. If we had to rank all the Marlon Wayans, we'd probably go with Mo Money Marlon Wayans, number one. Number two Marlon Wayans would be White Chicks Marlon Wayans. Number three would be Requiem for a Dream Marlon Wayans. Number four Marlon Wayans would be where he played the baby. He wasn't a baby, but he was like a little man. It was Little Man. That would be 4 Marlon Wayans. Number 5 Marlon Wayans would probably be from like the Scary Movies. And then number 6 Marlon Wayans would probably be from the Wayans Brothers, because that was such a good sitcom.
Yeah.
I might have even named seven Marlon Wayans within my top 6. That's how I feel about Marlon Wayans.
That's an impressive Marlon Wayans rankings. Where does he rank next to Marlon from Finding Nemo?
Which one's Marlon?
That's
the turtle?
No, that's Albert Brooks.
James Albert Brooks?
Yeah, he's Marlon. Okay, but where were we? Oh, we're talking about The Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark Knight Rises.
Just to give us something else we can cut.
No, that was all perfect. That all stays in. There's only so much we could talk about with this movie. There's only so much President. That's good stuff.
My name is Andrew Shepard, and I am the President.
The Dark Knight Rises from 2012. We're going to be doing this movie, and I know what you're thinking right now. There's a president in The Dark Knight Rises?
There's not only there's a president. The president is played by a well-known character actor. It's not like we had to look up this dude to be like, what do we know him from? He's from everything.
I mean, he's more a TV actor. At least by the time we were, of age watching stuff, he was, I guess, relegated mostly to television.
He did very well. I don't think he did like 10 years on like network soap. He did quite well for himself.
No, yeah. But he was on 24, which I think is where maybe a lot of our audience would be most familiar with him. That's William Devane. Yeah, I forgot there was a president in it. When I first saw his name pop up on a list of actors who played fictional presidents in pop culture, I was like, oh, maybe they just used his picture? I vaguely recalled that maybe there was just a staticky image of him on a television set. So like, oh, okay, well, so he's got no lines, no big whoop. It'll still be fun for us to
he gets a full-on mono.
Yeah, I know. I thought it'd be fun for us to cover it no matter what. But no, watching it.
Eric, if you would have been like, there's a president in The Dark Knight Rises, which is a 2.5 hour plus movie, and then I would have watched it, and it would have just been a still image of William Devane, and they're like, there's the president. And then I keep watching it, and there's no lines. This would probably be the last episode of Fake Presidents. It's like, we clearly did all the presidents. If this is what we're up to, where we're just going to talk about a picture of a president in a 2.5 hour movie.
You thought it'd be another Sabrina the Teenage Witch situation.
Yeah.
No, the reason why I think it would have counted anyway is I knew they casted an actor, William Devane, a real actor, and I knew that the character of the president, regardless of what gets said, does affect things on screen. We know what decisions they make in regards to the plot of the movie. So that right there.
Or don't make.
Do we have to even give much background on this movie? Who doesn't know about The Dark Knight Rises? Who doesn't know that Christian Bale played Batman and Bruce Wayne? Who doesn't know that Morgan Freeman, who we've covered many times before, is Lucius Fox, who's kind of like the Q to Batman? Who doesn't know that Alfred is played by none other than Sir Michael Caine from Jaws 4 and other movies? Anne Hathaway was the Catwoman in this one. Actually, I kind of forgot that until I started watching again.
Selena Kyle. We got Gary Oldman, Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt as John Blake, a.k.a. at the end, Robin.
Yeah.
Robin. Marion Cotillard.
Yes, she plays
Miranda Tate. Talia al Ghul.
That's the twist at the end. You have Tom Hardy as Bane.
Oh yeah, Tom Hardy as Bane. Yeah, he got ripped.
You have a young, super young Glenn Powell as a douchey Wall Street trader.
Sarah Goldberg from Barry is in that scene also.
Oh.
And of course, William Devane, President of the United States. Generationally, we knew him from Knots Landing, classic 80s soap opera.
Primetime soap opera.
Primetime soap opera, rich people being bad. But he's played presidents several times before this movie.
At least the Kennedy once or twice, if I'm not mistaken.
He played JFK in the 1974 TV movie Missiles of October. And he's played 2 other fake presidents, Eric.
Really?
2. We could just do a Devane episode because he played a fake president in the 2008 movie Stargate Continuum.
Oh.
And he played the Secretary of Defense who eventually became the president, President Heller, on 24. I love 24. We could we could just do the presidents of 24. That would take a lot of work. I think we would have to make like a decision. We'd have to like say, you take this president, so and so.
It'd be more work for me than you because I didn't watch much of 24 when it was on. It came out at a really bad time, Ben.
Oh, but because of the you're like watching, you're like, oh, torture.
Well, I mean, it came out like
torture, like you cared about, like anybody cared about the torture that was going on.
My favorite fact about that series is the pilot in the first episode, which starts in the middle of the night. You know, it starts off with these bad guys hijacking an airplane and having to steal something and jump off of it, and the plane crashes and all that. And of course, you find out what they stole were credentials to get them into some kind of super VIP event. And the first episode gets made and it gets picked up and gets picked up the series. And it's only after they got the green light to make 23 more episodes that they realized that their original plan, which was to have the climax of the season, the last episode, take place at the event where the credentials were stolen for, it wasn't going to work. Because what kind of super ultra VIP event, starts in the middle of the night, which is where the season has to end. So they had to go back and kind of rethink things a bit.
Whoever gave that note, it was a pretty good note.
How dare you come into this office and bark at me like some little junkyard dog? I am the President of the United States.
But yeah, William Devane, amongst all these Oscar winners and movie stars.
Yeah.
We get a little bit of president in this 2 hours and 45 minutes.
It's a long one. Yeah. In fact, I was thinking, because we're going to zero in on the politics.
We don't have to go through this plot at all.
We only really need to cover the politics in it and just enough story to explain why there's a friggin' president of the United States in this movie that's really just about local civic issues in the city of Gotham, if you think about it.
Yes.
Movie opens. Bruce Wayne has retired his Batman persona and to be more actively involved in Wayne Enterprises. He's invested in a green energy cold fusion project that gets pretty close to completion. But he ultimately decides to shut it down when he learns that this source of clean energy could be turned into a neutron bomb. Mm-hmm. Bane comes to town and starts working with a lot of corrupt local business people in order to seemingly enrich themselves at the expense of Bruce Wayne. They hire Selena Kyle, Catwoman, to steal Bruce Wayne's fingerprints.
I mean, yeah. She didn't cut off his fingertips.
No,
I know a lot of people are wondering about. They're like, I don't remember the scene where Anne Hathaway sliced off the fingertips of Christian Bale, unless that was in the director's cut. No, she didn't do that.
She stole the fingerprints off of a safe or something during a party. Oh, well, but speaking of that party where she stole the fingerprints and related to politics, Ben, What else did the Catwoman steal that night?
His heart?
A congressman.
Oh, congressman, yeah.
She kidnaps a congressman for reasons that don't really have anything to do with his politics, so moving on. Bane takes the fingerprints to the Gotham Stock Exchange. For what purpose, Ben?
To make him Bruce Wayne lose money.
Yeah, Bane's goons, they occupy Gotham Street. They make some risky trades on behalf of Bruce Wayne. He loses a lot of money on paper, which somehow costs him control of Wayne Enterprises. So he relinquishes control of the company to Miranda Tate, who was his partner in the Green Energy Project, which is when Bane blows up a football stadium, kidnaps some Wayne Enterprises board members, because all of this was so that Bane could, get his hands on
the green thing, the bomb. So
the neutron bomb.
Bane uses the bomb to hold Gotham City hostage.
And so that's when the president comes in.
Yeah, because everybody's like, the biggest city in America is being held hostage by some dude wearing a mask, and who talks like this? So they're like, Mr. President, what you gonna do? Can you help us out? Maybe stop them somehow, please? And so the president does make a decision.
Yes,
for
an
what
executive decision.
An executive decision for what he's going to do.
Much like the decision that the president had to do in The Rock, which is a very similar situation. Yes. Island under seas, terrorists in command, threatened to kill innocent people. Except for that president made the tough choice.
Yep. But this president, he says,
the people of our greatest city are resilient. They have proven this before, and they will prove it again. We do not negotiate with terrorists, but we do recognize realities. As this situation develops, one thing must be understood above all others. People of Gotham, we have not abandoned you.
And at that point, that's when I think it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who's been watching this on TV in Gotham. He's next to Gary Oldman, the Commissioner Gordon, and he goes to Commissioner Gordon. What does that mean? Commissioner Gordon, who could read through it all, says, it means we're on our own.
So basically, it's like a giant F you to Gotham City.
Yes.
Yeah. Because what we, the audience, knows, because we get told this by Lucius Fox, who's very smart about these things, this bomb's going to go off no matter what in 5 months. There's a certain rate of decay that cannot be avoided of the atomic components that are just going to be unstable enough to go boom. But to the world, it seems like, as long as this bomb's out there, there's nothing anyone can do, and it can last indefinitely. And the way that Bane presents this proposition to the city of Gotham, he doesn't say, ha ha ha, you're my prisoners now. No. First, he interrupts a football game.
He does a little more than interrupt it.
A little more. But yeah, so it's at that football game where Bane first announces to the world that he's actually returning the power to the people, giving the city back to the people.
To the people.
Now we come here not as conquerors, but as liberators to return control of this city to the people.
To the working class stiffs who have been living under the thumb of the Gotham City elites for far too long. He's going to give them the power to make all the decisions, to have their own control of their own destiny and their own lives. When he frees all the prisoners at, not Arkham Asylum, they don't do that in this movie. They go to this place called Blackgate. But he goes there because he claims that all the prisoners of Blackgate were wrongly detained under the Dent Act, which deprived them of their rights of due process. The Dent Act, named after Harvey Dent from the second movie. He's the DA who, went after organized crime in a major way in the city. And so at some point, someone passes a Dent Act in his memory, which allows them to have, I guess, greater ability to arrest gangsters without really trying them and detain them forever.
He's a Giuliani-esque character, I would say.
But anyway, so even this act of freeing these prisoners, who by all accounts really are gangsters, and even as he's arming the prisoners as they're leaving the prison to basically be his own form of judicial enforcers, their own judge, jury, and executioners now free to go out there.
Judge, jury, I think like J6ers.
A little bit.
If they have like six, they each have like 6 things to do, I call them J6ers.
Sure. It's all presented as this super populist, Occupy Wall Street, Bernie bro type solution to the problems of the middle to lower class. Mm-hmm. But, at least the rich people of Gotham get kicked out of their penthouse apartments.
Anyway, Batman saves the day. Let's just cut to the end of it. Batman saves the day.
Get off my plane.
Should we talk about the politics in this movie?
I mean, you touched upon all the Bernie Bronus of it, the Banie Sanders of it all.
I was also kind of taken by the Dent Act in general, how that's kind of this framing device that opens the movie. It opens the movie on Harvey Dent Day, thus celebrating the passing of the Dent Act, which has been responsible for reducing crime so much that Batman didn't feel the need to be Batman anymore.
Yeah, it's stop and frisk taken to the next level.
Well, stop and frisk and arrest and imprison.
Yep.
But it also has this whole RICO component where it is kind of affecting people who are mob affiliated, who individually you can arrest and do stuff with, but it usually has no effect on the overall apparatus because of the way it protects the guys at the top of the mob circle.
Yeah.
Circle? Pyramid? Pyramid. Let's go pyramid. Not circle.
It's pyramid.
It's called the Dent Act, not the Dent Ordinance. I was trying to figure, is it a Gotham City thing? Is it a state assembly thing? Was it a federal law that got passed?
We're not hearing about it in any other city. I think, yet again, you hit the nail on the head that Christopher Nolan, whatever's easiest for his story is what he embraces.
And then the other way that politics comes up in this movie is via why we're doing this, the president.
Yes, the president.
What do we know about this guy? William Levane, white guy, 60s?
I think it's like 70s.
You think
He's old.
We see him on TV from the neck up.
So we just have to imagine what's going on from the neck below.
They didn't give us that much to work with. We don't get a name. We don't get a party. He's not in any rush to save what's presumably a blue city.
He gives up on Gotham pretty quickly. I mean, there's two things going on here. Looking at history, I mean, it definitely reminded me of a very famous daily news headline from the 70s. Ford to city, drop dead. Figuratively, drop dead.
When you said Daily News for a second, I was picturing the Daily Planet. I thought you were going to quote the 70s Superman.
Yeah, I went on a deep dive. So yeah, that definitely feels Republican in that way. However, I've mentioned this before on the podcast that, he's also a president who's letting hostages just continue to be hostages, which is something Jimmy Carter was kind of hands off when there were hostages in D.C. when B'nai B'rith was taken over by Islamic terrorists. He was like, "Oh, let the police handle it."
Yeah, for more on that, I think you brought that up in our Star Trek episode, Star Trek 6. He says we don't negotiate with terrorists, but
which is the easiest way. That's the number one out for any president. If a president doesn't want to do something, it's just I don't negotiate with terrorists. They're like, but there's no terrorists. He's like, I'm calling them terrorists. Now, if I call them terrorists, they're terrorists, and I do not negotiate with them.
But what's interesting is it's not like those are your only two options to negotiate or not negotiate.
You didn't have to negotiate at all, yeah.
So he doesn't negotiate, nor does he in any way try to
reach out to Bane directly at all. Usually when you say you don't negotiate with terrorists, usually start to see you have a conversation with them at first. Then you're like, oh, there's nothing to negotiate here because they're terrorists. But also, what else are they going to get? You know what I mean? You don't negotiate with terrorists because it will harm you in the future. Because it's they'll just do this again, or another group will do this again.
They get what they want.
When you're dealing with a giant bomb that's probably going to go off no matter what. Lucius Fox could have called the president and been like, look, bro, it's me, LF. It's going to go off no matter what. So let's try to send in some SWATs, some Green Berets. I don't know who you got there. This is a suicide mission. Is there a squad, perhaps?
Well, that's just it. Have the scientists close to the president said they have a fusion bomb, and that thing, if it's not hooked up to its proper cooling mechanism, is going to
go no matter what,
degrade and blow up in 5 months.
Yeah.
But there seems to be some permeation. Bane does set up the allowance of supplies and food in and out of the city, and maybe just in, maybe not out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how much does the president know? If the president doesn't know about the self-destructive nature of that bomb in its own right, it implies that he doesn't maybe have the most well-informed scientific team at his disposal, which might point to
no Republican. And also maybe he just doesn't know how to Google. I feel that's something you could just Google. if he does his own research. And the scientist, I'll figure this out. Type.
Yeah, you did say he once played a Kennedy. Which one did you say he played?
The JF.
How? Because I'm the goddamn president of the United States of America.
On party, sounds like you're going Republican, based off of the Ford to New York drop dead.
It seems pretty straightforward, but it's like so. I don't know. I think he could actually be a Democrat because he's so comfortable
Deferring to others.
Yeah.
Some might say delegating.
I mean, like let's play it out. Let's play it out. Let's see what happens. As opposed to being impetuous. Be like, I'm going to send my people in and we're going to figure this out. Like, usually when you say we don't negotiate with terrorists, the next thing is like, how do we shoot these terrorists in the head?
Yeah.
That's the next step. It's not like, well, we don't negotiate, so I guess this is how it is. When you say you don't negotiate with terrorists, that means we will kill terrorists.
I mean, SEAL Team 6, they're practicing right now on the mock-up of the compound.
They have their little lasers are floating over people's heads.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with that the president of the United States is a Democrat in this world.
Okay. I'm going to go Republican because you swayed me by that Daily News headline. I feel like the indifference towards a city that didn't vote for him might actually be fueling his desire, that he'd rather allow the city to continue to be cut off from the rest of the world and from America, but alive, than to see it just get blown up and know that he has to now be the first president in the United States to allow an atomic level device to go off in a populated area of America.
But ultimately, though, it does go off. I don't know whether the bomb goes off in international waters or not. What does that say about his legacy? That the bomb, he allowed Gotham to be taken over by terrorists. He allowed a bomb to go off. I don't know what kind of environmental damage a bomb like this would do. Even if it's out over water, so I don't know what it would do. Would there be a tsunami after it? Because it was out over the water. Was there like another town? Is that the follow-up movie in the fourth movie? It's one of the seaside cities within the DC verse, and water's coming. Maybe it takes over the Flash's town, and Flash is the only guy who could run away from Star City. He runs away from the tsunami.
Flash lives in Central City, Ben. Everyone knows that.
Central City.
This is a presidential favor.
What does this movie say about 2012, Ben?
I think you hit the nail on the head with all the Banie bro stuff.
I mean, it's pre-Bernie.
I mean, it was Occupy.
Yes, Occupy Wall Street was a thing.
That was still very a Bernie time.
It was a precursor to probably a Bernie-ish movement.
Bernie was the cuddly uncle during all of that because he was the only one that like younger people who were anti-establishment, who were against the outright capitalism and wealth disparity in the United States. He was the only politician who appeared to walk the walk.
Yes.
Even though he still is richer than they are.
Yeah, as far as senators go, he's not that rich. His wife does well.
Yeah, but his wife, yeah.
Okay, so what else does this say about 2012? I don't know what it says about 2012, but I know what 2012 said about this movie. It said this movie was another attempt by liberal Hollywood to prop up Obama in an election year because, obviously, the big thing then was Mitt Romney. He made his fortune off of Bain Capital.
Oh.
Yeah. So even though ultimately the movie is about this hollow core at the center of people who claim to be for workers' rights and freeing the people from elite institutions, even though Bain dresses up his anarchy, his anarchist fascism, if you can combine those two things, which I think kind of actually works here.
Yeah.
He dresses it up as this, DSA approved message about fighting the system. And it basically says it's all full of shit, is what the movie says. Because of the name Bane, which of course pre-exists
within the comics,
this movie, it definitely got people claiming that there was some liberal malfeasance going on behind the scenes to prop up Obama at the expense of a then thriving Mitt Romney campaign the summer of 2012, before the Binder of Women.
Binder of Women, yes.
Okay, other 2012, you have the Occupy Wall Street elements, you have the Bain Capital elements. It's interesting in that it takes place during a time of peace in Gotham, when crime has gone down, a time of optimism in Gotham. It's built on a lie, the lie of Harvey Dent.
But if you compare Gotham to New York City, it was the same thing. You had throughout the post 9/11 New York was like thriving again. Money was back on the streets. Like it still felt safe. You still had stop and frisk. You had it was like Bloomberg times where it was like the billionaires running the city. Literally, the billionaire was running the city.
But presumably, I mean, it's very unusual for there to be a massive drop in just one city without seeing similar effects in other cities across the country. Like that was the big thing in the 90s. All the stuff that Giuliani would take credit for, look how much crime is going down. Well, the percentage of crime going down in New York City wasn't any different than going down anywhere else in the country. The national average was going down of serious crimes.
And when Giuliani left office, the number of crimes increased, if you include the crimes that he committed.
Motherfucker, I'm not asking if you're interested. I'm the president of the United fucking States, man.
Yeah, okay, so 2012, let's just say it's very different than a Batman movie that might have been made in the 70s or even by the late 80s, where New York was still considered this kind of crime-ridden place.
Yeah.
Like it seemed to be reflecting the fact that Gotham City, the stand-in for New York City, has been Disneyified.
They should have had, like in the second one, they had Batman vigilantes dressed up trying to fight crime. In this one, they should have had Batman in their version of Times Square taking pictures with people.
Yeah. So yeah, that's 2012. I think you were kind of getting to the legacy a bit.
Yeah. This president, if this is his first term, I don't see you getting a second term.
Because the bomb does go off eventually.
The bomb goes off. He abandoned a city. Bomb still goes off. There's no plan. The plan was just to wait and see. There's a plan of inaction. You don't want that in your president.
Well, what's interesting then is clearly 5 months pass from the stadium incident till the bomb going off. So surely they're pulling people nationally. And the longer he allows the city to remain under siege, because people have family there, people have relatives there, like beloved ones there. You know, the entire country is going to be hurt by this to a high degree. Everyone who had tickets to go see a Broadway show
Can't go. And you know what? They're non-refundable.
But anyway, so polling is going on. So what's interesting is the polls have to be showing people unhappy with this and the way he's dealing with this. Yet he still doesn't change course, which does imply that he just fundamentally, on principle, believes he's doing the right thing. He'd rather let them live in shackles than die free. And speaking metaphorically. That implies maybe it goes with what you're saying. Maybe he's more Carter-esque.
Or maybe it's a second term. You know what? Maybe it's a second term. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't have to worry about another election. He's like, I'll let the next guy handle it.
Or woman.
Or woman. No. No, he's a Republican. And
You said Democrat.
I said Democrat. Maybe I'm switching too. No, he's a Democrat. Let the next human being deal with this.
Okay. So you're thinking either a first termer not getting a second term at all, or a second termer who's just kind of done.
He's lame ducking it. He's lame duck. He's like, you know what? Sometimes it's good to be a lame duck.
Yeah, where do you think approval ratings? Where do those land?
I mean, 20s. Like, no, there's nothing to really like about what this guy's doing. He could. I don't even think there's anything he could do during this time, during this crisis, to like shift eyes elsewhere. You can't be like, well, my education plan. Well, you know, like nobody gives a shit about the education plan when this bomb might go off in Gotham City.
No, we know the football season probably got canceled.
Yeah, no football. You know what? Nobody has anything to do on Sundays, dude. You know what they're watching? They're watching the news now. You have an electorate who cannot be numbed. They're not as lucky as Bane to have their pain numbed. They have to live through it, so they have to watch Meet the Press on Sunday.
That's painful, Ben. That's painful. Yeah. So, where do you go on the approval ratings then? Where do you land on that?
For my own personal approval rating?
Yeah.
It wasn't even a good speech. Wasn't even a good speech. This guy's a 20. I don't even know. I mean, William Devane, he sells it. He's innately likable to me. But this president, man, not a very good president.
If it didn't last 5 months, if we're talking about something that spanned a few days, I think he walks away a winner. It's like I had faith that the Batman would do what needed to be done. We were there to support him, to provide for him, and to buy him time to do what needed to be done. And I think he walks away unscathed. The fact that for 5 months, clearly people died during those 5 months. A lot of people died. There's no way all 3,000 cops are coming out of that underground sewer system fully intact.
No,
he did not back the blue. A lot of donors are gone too. Didn't have, a lot of presidential donors
A
probably.
lot of rich.
perished.
I mean, look, a lot of rich people. You're right. Got kicked out of their house. They lost their money. Not a lot of people were backing him during that time.
So I think the 5 months. I want to make an argument that he walks out of this being able to take credit for the fact that the bomb did not go off in the city. That ultimately the stall tactic did work, but
It flew off and it went over whatever the DC equivalent is of Puerto Rico.
or Bermuda. I think they're still saying it's like, I mean, in real life, this was shot in Pittsburgh, but I think they're still saying it's mid to North Atlantic, wherever.
But who knows how fast that bat can go? For all we
Yeah.
know, it was Vieques style. That would make him a Republican at this point.
The autopilot worked too well, and it just goes to Europe.
Yeah.
Like, what the so because 5 months passed and a lot of people did die, there's no way he's able to walk away saying, I did the 100% right thing. People are going to be second guessing him up the wazoo. It's going to be a low approval number. He's not getting a second term. I'm going, I feel like we have to go into 20s. I'll go with 24.
Oh, 24. Just like the TV show he was on where he played President Heller. Well, that's been Fake Presidents.
Yeah, I've been Eric Buckman.
I've been Ben Oren. Theme music by Johnny Sadoff.
Theme music, not the stupid bumpers that I made. He did the good stuff.
I like your bumpers, man.
They're perfunctory. They do the job.
I'm a fan of the bumpers.
No, but Johnny, he did the real music just like he does real music for actual movies and TV shows.
Actual artwork by Ann Hecker.
Yes, very talented artist. We are on various social media networks. Actually, I just created a Blue Sky account for us.
Oh.
So just look for Fake Presidents on that. You can email us at fakepresidents@gmail.com. If you're using Spotify, you can like an episode, you can leave a rating. If you're using Apple Podcasts, you can do that too, and please do, because it's been a while since someone has left one for us, even though I know we have a lot of new listeners.
I was on somebody's podcast this week.
Oh, Ben, yes, you were telling bedtime stories.
I was telling bedtime stories on the One More Story podcast with my good buddy, Peter Solella. It's a wonderful podcast. He's had some great writers and directors and actors on that show. He's had Ike Barinholtz. He's had the directing team behind Resolution. They are part of the DC. No, they're part of the Marvel universe because they've directed episodes of Loki and Moon Knight and Daredevil.
Where can people find this podcast?
It's the same place where you can find our podcast.
Reach out to us because I think we are planning on doing a mailbag for our next episode.
Yep.
So get the messages in while you can. Questions, comments, movie suggestions. We got our first actual suggestion on Threads, of all places.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Have a mournful Thanksgiving.
Think about America and how it's changed over the past 300 years. Think about what you've done to make those changes. Are you a changer? Are you a changee? Where do you stand?
Ask not what your country could do for you.
Wait, is that
Ask what you...
That still sounds like Bane. That still sounds a lot like Bane.
What Bane baby? Ask not what your country could do for you. Ask what you can do for your country, Batman.
Yeah, Batman. Bye.
I went ahead and made a list of possible titles for this episode.
Yeah.
I figure it might be fun.
Bane in the ass. Is that one of them?
No, it's an okay one, but I figure it might be fun to let our listeners hear how you say no to everything I suggest.
Well, you can only say yes to one thing. You can only have one title if we have to say yes to something. Okay.
Okay, well, the obvious is Bane Capital,
Yes.
Banie Bros,
Yes.
Occupy Brawl Street,
Ooh. Yes.
Christian Nationalism for Christian Bale.
Well, I think the people who follow us on Patreon, I think they would really like that one.
Bale Reform, but Bale is spelled
Yeah,
B-A.
Christian Bale, yeah.
L-A. Die Hardy.
Okay. These are all great ones. I know what you're talking about, man. These are all bangers.
In Codpiece We Trust.
Yeah, because Batman covers up his wiener with a codpiece.
Oh, this one you have to picture in a certain voice, though. You get a Batmobile. You get a Batmobile.
Like Oprah?
Yeah. because in the movie everyone gets a
Everybody
Batmobile.
gets a Batmobile.
Yeah, the bat stops here.
Okay.
Or last one is bat mitzvah.
Ooh.
Because he does a good thing he does a mitzvah.